know how the fuck is this thing?
Hey, how are you?
Yo, is this working?
Yeah,
All right, cool. It's on today.
it is.
All right, I fucked up. I thought it was not on today. That's why I saw a
No, that's
message
next week.
from Kate. Oh, okay, I saw the message. I'm like, but it's not on today. Hang on. Let me double fucking check that and just hit this link and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm good. How's yourself?
I'm good, thanks.
Never used this device. This is annoying. Is Sean here? My promise.
No, not yet.
Oh, okay, cool.
Anything specific you want to go through today?
Sorry, I just grabbed my water bottle. You know, I'm just going for the ride, I guess. You know, I'm keen to do it. I guess, you know, everything's a question to me. You know, I have been doing the homework, except for Wednesday. I forgot the day after. I've been going for the homework. You know, it's just a case of, I don't know. Nothing specific, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And how's life?
Challenging.
In what way?
I'd say work is the workplace. You know, I know if I'm bored, I create drama. But I am sure on the last 3 occasions, I feel like I just walked into drama and went, how the fuck did this happen to me?
Mm-hmm. Tell me about that.
Oh, it was walked into the back where all the staff work or go, or just the staff area. And next thing, the manager just calls me neglectful or something, and I'm like, what the fuck? What are we talking about? And in the end, it was about a piece of equipment was broken. Apparently, I didn't tell her, which I did, and I'm like, and it blew up into a massive thing. It was like a. I must admit, I argue back. I mean, I walked into the drama, but when I get blindsided with you're being neglectful to your clients and so forth, like, fuck off, no, I'm not, don't fucking say that. And I must admit, I don't retreat. And just like, and then again, I get an email, hey, Paul, we need you to come in for a meeting over the incident. And I'm like, what fucking incident? Oh, fuck this, I'm just calling. Called. Yeah, I think I give people opportunities to take shots at me.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't think I don't know it, but I just give people opportunity to take shots at me. Not, I don't think it's deliberate, but it's just like in hindsight, I'm like, oh fuck, I should have seen that coming.
Mm-hmm. And how was that impacting you?
Sorry?
And how was that impacting you?
Not as much as it used to, but I guess I just like change plan. It actually does impact me a lot. That's bullshit. I guess it doesn't as emotionally impact me as much. I'm not like devastated and just can't fucking think and work. I just go on this full side tangent, like this week I want to set up my youth development programs. And then bang, after this, Paul, we need you to come in for an incident. What fucking incident? Fuck it, I wanted this thing, fuck it. And then bang, I'm now on a course of getting, I wanted my own facility. Let's just get this going. What do I need? What funds do I need? And bang, I'm already looking at real estate. I'm getting quotes from suppliers, stuff that Jimmy's told me to do a while ago. But it's like now, bang, I'm on this full side mission. I'm not sure if it's a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, it might not be a bad thing, but I am not lazy. I'm working. It's just a case of it's not where I planned this week to put my effort in. And as I got the email Monday afternoon, bang, boom, fuck it, I've had enough. If I had my own facility, I could get leads in my way. I could do all of this anyway. It's my goal anyway to get my own facility eventually. So that's how it impacts me. Whether it's intelligent reactiveness, resilience, or just, I don't know.
So where are you at with starting your own gym then?
I have been putting it off. Want more money. Where I'm at, I got a few places I can look at. I've contacted a few real estate agents for commercial lease. I have talked to a lawyer in regards to my current contract that I'm in and what do I need to do to get around some of those fucking stupid obligations I signed myself up to fucking 2 years ago. And I'm looking at gym supplies, so forth.
Cool.
So come to think of it, in one day, I've done quite a lot.
It's amazing, isn't it? All you had to do was get pissed off.
I was just about to say that. All I have to do is get really pissed off. Bang! I'm on a mission.
Yeah. So the natural tendency for activators is to make change based on the level of pain that you're in. So you'll tolerate a lot of moderate pain of normalness. And then when it gets to a point where you're angry and pissed off, then you're inspired to get into action. Like, fuck this shit, fucking over it. So that's part of the shadow side of the activator. So it's getting to a place where you can actually start to take action from a place of inspiration rather than from a place of frustration.
Okay. Is that right? In regards to questions, I can do that.
So naturally what will happen is when you're using frustration as your driver, it's faster to get to burnout and then just return basically just back to the status quo. So it's normally just like a burst of energy. So what we're looking at is,
as soon as shit calms down, I go back to my other path.
Yeah. Which is just based on your identity. How are you, Sean?
Okay.
Good. A little bit tired, but I'm good.
Tired? Why's that?
Big weekend, mate. Big weekend. And then straight into a busy Monday.
Weekend was like days ago, mate.
Yeah, I know.
How have you been feeling since then?
Good. Actually awesome. And then I hit the wall about probably 12 o'clock yesterday. And
Yeah.
I still felt good in the head, but just body was just tired, a little bit run down. And then I just rested, fed, and woke up this morning pretty good again. I would say awesome compared to, the last few weeks. But then I find myself old habits or old thoughts start coming back in.
Mm.
But I'm just finding I can just dismiss them and keep moving forward and start making some plans.
Mm. What are the old thoughts?
Just the self-worth. This is too hard, I'm uncomfortable, all that sort of stuff.
Mm.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
How you been going with the homework?
To be honest, I totally forgot what last week's homework was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's basically the meditation process.
Yes, I did do that for 3 or 4 days, going through that and trying to find if there was any emotion behind any people's or anything like that. But nothing really came up. Yeah, nothing intense anyway.
Mm.
Yeah, well, there's no feeling in any part of my body towards anyone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So when we're looking at that, what we're really looking at is just being with the sensations of it.
Yeah.
So we're looking at like what comes up in terms of the experience. So most of the time it's just going to be just a sensation that's going to come up, which is like just a kinesthetic sensation of just something. Generally, It's not necessarily going to be heightened. It's going to be very subtle. So when we're talking about doing this, we call it like subtle body work because we're looking at the subtleties of it. It's not normally like painful or anything like that. It's just this subtle sensation which is playing out for us.
Yeah.
So what we're really looking at doing is just being with those sensations, and when we can actually start to be with those sensations, and we can actually like have our body be reconnected to our mind, because normally they just become disconnected.
Yep.
So as part of what we're looking at doing is like we're getting to the point of being with sensations and being with parts of you.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of how that looks, we're looking at doing it through this process. So we're just being with the sensation, because the normal tendency is for it to be safe or unsafe, and ultimately just a sensation it's really just it like can be a trigger. It's just a sensation, and then it becomes safe, unsafe. We're receptive to it, then we can receive support, or we just avoid it. So where are we? Yeah. So part of the process that we're really going through is just shifting through components of it. So we'll probably go through a process like this at the end as well, just to create a deeper understanding of it. So the primary thing that's been coming up for you is just returning to self-worth things.
Yes. So more so just, I think I'm tired. So I'm just going back into just old thought patterns of, this is not me. All the stories of why I'm not moving forward and creating what I want to create. But they're not like they were before. I can move through them. If that makes any sense.
How do you move through them?
by just taking a step in and doing what I wasn't going to do. Instead of making a story about it, just do it. Take a step into it. Start doing the planning, start doing that, or have the hard conversation that I would normally just dismiss.
Mm-hmm.
Stop the people pleasing. Stop saying yes to shit that I don't really want to do.
Mm-hmm.
On a day-to-day basis.
Cool. So what plays out there is like the story of this is not me. It's just like an identity coherence thing. So it just means that there's like part of the identity that also needs to die within that. So Paul, this is ultimately what's going to occur at some stage if you shift out of the gym that you're in and start your own gym. It's like the death of being a personal trainer and the understanding of that. So the shift that you go into is then being a gym owner. So our identities basically determine what our results are going to be in life. So when you say something like, I move through them, what you're really doing is you're doing utilizing a strategy of mind blank.
Good.
Okay. What's coming up is like cognitive dissonance, the state of having inconsistent thoughts, beliefs, attitudes, behavioral decisions. That's not what I'm looking for. That's what's occurring.
Yeah. So it's I'm dismissing it, but yeah, I'm not really dismissing it. I'm just sort of going back into a loop. Or
like it can work. It's just something where we start to we're fighting against our identity in that instance in a lot of times, and there are some times where that can be pushed through, but a lot of the times we return, like in most instances, we return to like what our baseline identity actually is.
Yeah.
So what we're really looking at doing is creating that identity shift, because then that's going to start to change all of it. Otherwise, it's just the same kind of things that are playing out.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
So what's the identity that's playing out the most, do you think?
For me, it's the social media thing. So, and then all the stories behind that. Like I'm just not, like I can be creative, but I'm out of comfort actually opening up, speaking, which is what's probably holding me back. So it's that speaking, be able to get on a camera, be able to talk and just let things flow. I can sit there and talk to a mate or whatever, and all this shit will come out of me. Put a camera in front of me, or me have to write it down. It's just goes to shit. Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing at the moment. Can come up with all the ideas in the world, but putting it together seems to be the hard part.
What would you need to be able to put it together?
I don't really need anything. I just need to change not change myself, but just do the work. I don't think I need anything from anyone. It's more just doing it until it becomes the norm.
So look at the process that you're going through. So it's like, okay, I've started to create a new awareness around something, and then it's like, okay, I just need to go and do the thing. I need to create a strategy and just actually go and do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can get results like that. It's just a longer process, and what we're really looking at doing is just going to, all right, well, what is the identity that you currently have, and how can we actually shift that?
Yeah.
So like, yeah, I can give you like, I can instantly just say, hey, you don't want to get on camera? Okay, cool. Just do a fucking podcast and then just record every conversation that you have with people.
Yeah.
And you've got a strategy, but then again, it still creates a cap.
The problem.
Yeah.
Yep.
So then the real question is, what's the story that comes up in your mind when you think about being seen on social media?
Oh, I suppose it's the comparing. It comes back to comparing myself to others, self-worth. And doubt. I suppose doubt, not believing in what I'm about to do or say, or yeah.
Yep.
Self-sabotage.
So this is the thing which like shows up. It's like, okay, I'm gonna go do these things. I'm gonna use this strategy. I'm gonna go and do it. I'm gonna go fail and learn, and then instantly we move into the next step, and it just shows up as an inconsistent action. You do it sometimes, but then there's this self-doubt that crops up, and then it's this holding on to this old identity.
Yep.
Which is just exactly what's playing out. So the question is like, what defines your worth?
I suppose it'd be old beliefs. I suppose I define my worth.
Not really.
In some regards, no.
Again, it's just like being imprinted into us in most instances.
Yeah.
So what defines my worth? How do you think that you define your worth?
The value I give to others.
Awesome.
On a business level. My ability to get them results, my ability to communicate. Like there's probably a whole list of things which would still come back to the value, I suppose.
The value I give to others. What was another one?
My ability to communicate, which would probably still be, my ability to get them results. They're the main ones that are popping up.
So what happens here is we instantly start to determine like our worth through external things. So the value I give to others, well, value is only determined based on how much we value ourselves.
Yes.
My ability to communicate is really saying my ability, it's basically going into this as well. It's the same thing, really.
Yeah.
My ability to communicate determines my ability to be able to get the results. And the reality is, it just means that you end up taking responsibility for their results and outsourcing what your worth is.
Yeah.
So when we're looking at the stories, what we're looking at is like, it's just really like, where am I giving my power away?
To everyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is to everyone else, and it's just determining where that is for you. Because this is what we all do. Like everyone's just consistently giving their power away, and it's really all right. Where am I doing that?
Yeah.
Because if I can
Suppose
determine
all,
where,
yeah, all day long. If
Yeah.
I feel I finish a session, I'm like, fuck yeah, that was a good session. I feel good. I feel like I've given them what they want or what they need, not what they want, what they need. You know, it was a great session. I feel like they got good value out of it. And then I might do another session and it was just fucking painfully, like didn't get what I wanted out of them. And I didn't feel like it was what they needed. So I suppose that's my power drained.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, all day long, on and off.
Mm-hmm. And what's really playing it out is the conditionality of it. Because there's no real way we can actually determine what people are really wanting to get out of something.
No.
We can have educated guesses, but
Yeah.
it doesn't really get to the core of it.
No.
And so part of what happens is we instantly put our own expectations onto other people and then judge ourselves based on how we've met our expectations of what we think that they want. So just for Paul and Cassie, Sean came to the two-day event that I ran over the weekend, and there was someone there who was like a guardian. So, you know, so Sophie, is who I'm talking about, Sean?
Yep.
She was like the most resistant person in the room. And she is someone where she sits epigenetically. She's someone who will have a coach for the sake of having a coach to expand what her family is. And this is what's going to happen when you take on some clients, especially ones that are guardians. They're not.
Do have something like that.
Yeah, they want to get results because they don't want to let you down, but deep down they don't really give a fuck if they get results or not.
No, they're quite happy to have a chat and do some work.
Yeah.
You've got some of them too, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. I fucking love them.
Yeah, they come, they do their 2-3 sessions a week, pay money, have a great chat, do some work.
Yeah, sometimes I feel guilty for taking their money. It's like my best fucking friend in a session.
Yeah. Yeah. So what we do is we instantly start to categorize what people define as worthy.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at it in a coaching context, like these people, activators, it's just like I need to get results. I need to get a return on investment. I need to get better. And it's like if I can get 10% better, then it's worth it.
Yeah.
If you can promise me that I can get 10% better, sign me up. These people here, it needs to be fun. It's like, so long as it's fun, yeah, cool. The results, yep, awesome. But if it's not fun, but I'm going to get the result, and it's like, oh, I don't know. Over here, especially in a health and fitness context, what will happen is they're less interested in the actual result and they're more interested in having you as part of their family and showing up. They like, even if they don't change their weight for 5 years, they're still going to see you every week. And because what they value is connection and family, and they don't want to let you down, so that often more likely to also lie about their food.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily like even when they do their food effectively, generally it's not what you think, because technically you can basically have these people not eat dinner and they'll get the best results, which is kind of against everything that most people say, and like low protein.
Yeah.
So over here,
sorry, keep going.
Over here, they're gonna want to just feel good about the process, and they just want to do it in their own time. Over here, it's just like, chances are they're not gonna have that many people, not many senses have coaches, just because they know best anyway, or so they think, and generally they're not gonna work with a health and fitness coach just because they're already lean as fuck. If it is, it's to build muscle, and you just got to shovel food into them. Crusaders over here, it's just ROI. Just prove this is going to be worth it to me. I'm skeptical as fuck about it. So instantly we start to see what other people's values are, what they value, but that's actually just a representation of what they value. It's not actually a representation of our worth.
Yeah.
So when we're looking at all of these different things, it's like, all right, so how do I define what my worth is?
It's to come from within, then.
Mm-hmm.
That's the $1 million question. How do you change that?
Yeah. Pretty simple.
Yeah.
So it's like, what do you value about yourself?
That's the hard one. After the weekend, I had heaps, but I find that dissipating because I'm back into the real world, back around all the same people I'm around every day, dealing with the same shit. Yeah, so it's still there, and I have a different look within myself, but
yeah, and then that just becomes the thing that you consistently question into,
and
inquire into.
So it's just time and keep doing the same work.
Well, yeah, it's the time of doing it, as well as like starting to let go of all of the cross-sectional beliefs that we have laid on top of us that highlights that we believe that we're unworthy or that we have a low self-worth.
Yeah.
So it's a combination of removing all of the belief patterns as well as owning the different parts of us.
Yeah.
So what we really look at in that instance is the way that we start to value ourselves is by actually owning the parts that we've wanted to disown, or that we already have disowned. It's just that we're unaware that we've disowned them. It's just doing our shadow work.
Yeah.
So when we get to that understanding, it's just like, okay, well, cool. We've tried going this direction. Why don't we actually just go over here and actually go through the process that's going to get the most effective parts of it? So it's going to be like going through all the parts that you're disowning. So part of the power of like transformation from the weekend is like just owning those parts that you didn't necessarily want to talk about.
Yeah.
So it's just consistently finding more of those parts. So I'll get all of you to think about this. What is the part of you that you hate the most about yourself? What do you got, Paul?
Now that's like the hard part of the homework.
If you could change one thing about yourself, what would it be?
Just have some decent fucking momentum, just to have confidence in doing whatever I decide to do, instead of, oh good, I'll do that tomorrow, I'll do that in an hour, oh I have to do this first.
So decent momentum.
Yes. And it's just that it's not even when, there's no obstacle gets in the way. It's just that, then I doubt. Yeah.
Yeah, it's still the same process. So what kind of person doesn't have decent momentum?
What kind of person doesn't have decent momentum? Every person?
What kind of person in a derogatory term?
Uncommitted, time-wasting bastards. Actually, I invented an abbreviation for that. FTWB, fucking time-wasting bastard. Can you think of it? Actually,
Cool. So fucking time wasting bastards.
Yep.
And ultimately, when we're looking at like these shadows and these things that we're starting to project out into the world and the things that trigger us, they're ultimately just the things in ourselves which we're disowning.
Yep. Okay.
So it's like you get really pissed off at people who are fucking time wasting bastards, and then the whole story of like not getting decent momentum is really the narrative that you're playing out to yourself, is that I'm a fucking time wasting bastard.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense why I have one pile of leads actually designated FTWB as time fucking wasting bastards. Only occurred to me during this call. I was like, oh yeah, I do have a term for it. FTWB. Fucking time wasting bastards. I have a folder. All these leads which have pissed me off, they go in that folder.
Yeah. So whenever we look at all of these things, again, it just becomes that representation of ourselves. So until you can actually own the fucking time wasting bastard within you, then it's always just going to be a massive trigger for you rather than just going next.
Okay.
Because when it comes to us, it's like we can't go next person to us, because that's actually what we're doing, which is keeping the fucking time wasting bastard like running this show under the surface. So who would you be if you could actually own that you're a fucking time wasting bastard?
If I could own being a time wasting bastard, a fucking time wasting bastard. Who would I be? I don't know, I've zoned out so much I didn't even fucking think of that. If it was cool with me, I'd probably enjoy my free time a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
I would definitely enjoy my free time a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't get distracted as much.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Sean? Do you consider yourself lazy at all?
No. Or more lazy in some aspects when it comes to maybe sitting down and doing leads and shit like that. I do that. I don't have a label for it, but I have like a list of sheets, and I'll try and do 10 a day. But then some days I'm like, fuck, I'm not even gonna bother today. I'm gonna go do something else. Yeah, but yeah, not really. Usually I'm always doing something and everything's planned, or I'm like, I'm going to 2 hours, I'm going to go do this, and then I'm going to sit down for an hour, I'm going to do this, and then yeah, I'm pretty structured.
So one of the quick ways that we can start to get to the core of a lot of our shadows is just like, what are the things that all of society hates, that kind of shames? So the 7 deadly sins is like a great start. So like sloth, gluttonous, wrath, pride, lust, greed. We all have these parts of us because they're part of our experience, and then we're like, oh, that's not appropriate to be human. So when we look at fucking time wasting bastard, at the core of that, what that is they're lazy or they're shit people. But it's ultimately just a judgment on them, and in reality is that's how you judge yourself. How you judge other people is how you judge yourself. It's normally like a 10x kind of thing as well. So the way that you judge people externally is normally 10 times. You normally judge yourself 10 times more than you judge people internally. So until you can actually own the lazy part of you, Paul, it's gonna just run you.
Okay.
And the natural tendency for us to be in business is this addiction to being productive. It's not really, it's not even an addiction to being productive, it's an addiction to being busy. Which is the feeling, yeah, it's the feeling that we get by doing things, by doing all the time. We feel good, and like, well, who said that's actually correlative with results?
No.
I laugh at the moment, kind of where my business is. In terms of like how much work I do on my business, comparative to how much work I've done on my business in the past, like less than probably ever. And my business is like better than ever.
Because you put the long work in for a very long time?
Nope.
No?
Because I'm focused on the right things, which is doing my development first.
Yep.
That's why like next week I'm like, do I go on a retreat? Knowing that that's 7 days where I won't be able to work. And then I come back, and then 3 days later I go into a 9-day event. And then after that 9 days, then I have a 2-day event, and then I'm running an event, and then I've got another 2-day event, and then another 3-day event, and then another 2-day event. That's just in April for my development. Because the more that I'm willing to work on my self-worth and my leadership, the more that my business starts to just grow. Because I'm not wasting fucking time on shit. So one of the core things that we like buy into is that this association between hard work and results. Which is here, the need to struggle. Which is generally ingrained into us. And why is it that some people can start a business and instantly take it to $1 million? What's the difference?
That's psychology. in one form.
It's just based on what they're comfortable really asking for. So if you had to make $1 million this week, how would you make $1 million?
Right now?
Yep.
I'd probably have to go rob it from a bank.
Mm-hmm. And then that becomes an instant representation of how you think you need to earn $1 million.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I can only do it illegally.
Yeah, I get that. And that is something that's played out over many years. I think that even ingrains from parents. I remember them saying shit like that.
Yeah.
The whole money doesn't grow on trees. You're going to have to go rob a bank. Yeah, actually, my mum and my dad both said that you have to rob a bank if you're ever going to do this.
Yeah.
It's ingrained from a very long time.
Yeah. How would you make $1 million, Paul? I think you missed it. Paul, how would you make $1 million?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, I did miss it. I like robbing the bank idea. I would have to definitely ask for more money.
Ask for more money?
Yeah. I'd have to do something completely different, actually. That's bullshit. I have to do something completely different.
Yeah. So, do you want to know how I'd make $1 million?
Yeah. Who wouldn't?
Well, if you really need to make $1 million, you need to go find someone who has $1 million to spare and ask them what they need. It's just that most people are unwilling to have those conversations. Because then it's no longer about what your actual worth is. It's about, okay, how much is the problem worth to them for me to solve it? So our level of thinking is going to determine our level of worth. So as we start to evolve our thinking, inherently, our worth instantly goes up. All of our shadows are what creates this low self-worth, because the story behind it goes, if you really knew who I truly was, if you really knew who I truly were, then you wouldn't see the worth in me, then you wouldn't see the worth that you see in me, which is ultimately a shame statement. So in the fucking time wasting bastards context with you, Paul, it's like owning that component of it will instantly allow you to actually enjoy your free time more and appreciate when you're actually doing things. Because what's occurring at the moment is you're only appreciating one side of the coin, which is the time when you're actually productive, rather than the time which actually allows you to be productive. So when you've got your phone, how fucking annoying is it when it goes dead?
A little bit annoying.
Yeah. And how appreciative of it are you after it's gone dead and it's now charging?
Not very appreciative.
Not very. So
like
imagine this.
You should fucking always work, you fucking phone.
Yeah. And this is the thing, but then you only ever appreciate it, and then someone calls me like right when I do it. Perfect. Oh, that's my car. So when we can actually start to appreciate the process of charging, knowing that it gives us access to the thing that we actually want, then we start to appreciate both sides of it, right?
Mm.
When we can appreciate our recovery as much as our work, well, then we get access to the full spectrum. But if we only appreciate when we're productive, like we're only appreciating part of it, so then we negate the other part, which means that we don't actually get our full energy because we haven't really appreciated the charging component, the building up of energy, the recovery component. And the reason why I use it as a phone is because, as the example with the phone, is that when things are charging, it's like when things are charging, we then have the potential to charge. So when we can appreciate both parts of it, knowing one creates the other one, then we actually just have the appreciation of the entire spectrum rather than just one side of it, rather than just that bipolar part of it. We only appreciate one side of the spectrum. It just means that we don't really access the full energetic potential that we have. And this is why we do the shadow work. When we can integrate the shadow or the dark side of it, then it instantly means that we have full access to all of the energy which is there. When we only appreciate the one side of it, what we're really doing is we're creating a distorted perspective of what is actually going on. And when we're creating a distorted perspective, it actually takes a lot of time, energy, and effort for us to focus on just that distorted perspective. And as where we all sit, we have the highest tendency of that. As activators and being on the cusp of activator crusader, we filter everything through right and wrong. We're the most bipolar people here. Because we filter everything through right and wrong. It's either good or bad. It's not both. And as soon as we can start to access that spectrum, it just means that we actually come from that place of inspiration rather than force or anger or frustration, whatever it is. It's no longer that short-term motivation. It's that inherent drive of utilizing our life force energy to be able to get behind and actually create things. So our self-worth is only really just a representation of the work that we've done on ourselves. So you want to accelerate that process? It's just like integrate the most fucked up parts of yourself. So what are the most fucked up parts of you? And generally it's the thoughts. One of the most fucked up ones is like, for me, when I was like depressed, the like constant fantasizing about killing myself and the psychological kickback and glee that I'd actually get from that. And you're like, oh, that's real fucked up.
I get it, Bob.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Yeah. And when you can actually own that, knowing that's just a thought, then it no longer has any power over you. And like when we think about thoughts are like, thoughts come and go. Basically, we've got like our consciousness, which is like the ocean. We've got the sea of consciousness. And what will happen is a thought will come up like a fish jumping out of water of the sea of consciousness. And then we try and catch it and it's already landed again. And then we look over here and another thought pops up and then goes back into the sea of consciousness. our thoughts just pop up and down, up and down, up and down. And we're trying to consistently catch them and control them at all points in times. And it just becomes this never ending chasing of these fish popping up, trying to chase them. And yet when we can actually just get to the observation of them and just go, oh, that's another fish, another fish, another thought, another thought. And then we can just create this awareness of them, knowing that they're going to come, they're going to go, without the need to make meaning out of them. Because when we get into make meaning out of, oh, that is so fucked up, then we're unconsciously trying to hide those thoughts from everyone else. And all of our time, energy, and effort goes into that. And like the perfect example is like, imagine if you had a speaker and it was just attached to your head, and it just basically all of your thoughts were projected out into the world.
It'd be pretty fucked up. Yeah, fucked up.
Yeah.
Real fucked up.
Yeah, that's how we actually think about our thoughts internally, and that's how much we actually shame ourselves.
Yeah.
And even as you're talking about earlier, when you had the incident at work, Paul, it's like you're kind of sharing it here, but you wouldn't have shared as much in person of them. What are these fucking idiots doing? Fucking stupid anyway. All of these thoughts which come up, which are like, okay, I can't share that. That's not appropriate in society.
I don't know. I fucking share things sometimes too much, I reckon, at work.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what leads me into trouble as well.
Yeah, and that's where we sit as well. Epigenetically, it's like we're willing to actually do more than what most people think is appropriate. And then we create an extra layer of shame because society says, no, no, no. We're actually willing to do that more than other people, which means that we actually have that thought come up and we're like, fuck you, you're a fucking idiot. And then it's over. And then they're like, right, we need to talk about this incident. You're like, what incident? I don't remember what are we talking about again? Because we just go through it and out of it, and then it's done, it's finished. Whereas they're like in it, they're like, oh my God, this is so fucked up. We've got to have conversations about this all the time. So what will happen is with activators, they're going to suppress more than anyone else. Because society says, no, you can't be that expressive. And yeah, that's actually healthy for an activator. Because if they push it down and they don't express it, well, then we run into other limitations, physiological implications, and more likely experiencing depression. It's just only a matter of time that an activator, or even like in the Crusader as well, they're not expressing themselves for what's going on for them. It's just a ticking time bomb until they get to depression. So it becomes essential for them. It's just that society says, no, 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 you can't express yourself. That's not appropriate. It's because other people actually take it personally. So when we can actually just return to that awareness of just actually starting to observe all of those things, or we can actually just start to see that pop up and go down, and then we can just actually start to watch that. Then we're actually okay with it. When we can become aware that we are aware of our thoughts, we instantly just return to presence. And then that's how we can start to create from that place of no thing. When we go into the meaning about all of the thoughts which have occurred in the past, which is not our natural tendency for where we sit, everything starts to shut down. Like when we're in that expression of making meaning about things, which is ultimately what we do, just means that we're just out of the present moment. It just means that we're actually just like creating some form of suppression. We're not actually just being with what is. So as the thought comes up, we can just observe it, and we can become the observer of our thoughts rather than identifying with them. Then everything starts to shift, because as soon as we identify with I am my thoughts, well, then we've just created an identity around something which is not within our control, and it's just extremely frustrating. The only strategy that we can utilize is fucking shaming the shit out of ourselves. So the real question is, can you control your thoughts?
Nope. You can calm them.
So what is this?
Pen?
Don't think about a pen.
Yeah, didn't think about a pen.
Yeah. And this is the thing, it's just like automatic. So like to clarify with the calming of thoughts, we it's not necessarily calming them, it's just returning to the awareness of them.
Yeah.
Which feels calming.
Yeah.
When we can just create awareness of the thoughts and then just watch them come and go, then everything starts to shift for us. So part of our work, our shadow work, is just starting to become the observer of all of like the really fucked up thoughts that we have. And the meaning that we make out of them.
Which is nothing.
It depends.
Yeah, I know.
Like, if we go into meaning, it's like, okay, cool, well, I can observe that I've gone into meaning, because then if we start making meaning about things, then we're into the paradox of the rabbit hole. So what we really look at is, how can we start to integrate more of these shadows that we have? Because the irony with shadows is what we actually do. Get a slide for it. Oh, come on. Nope, not there. With shadows, what we do is we do to ourselves what we fear others will do to us if they found out about our shadow. So it's like if they found out about this, then they would shame me, then they would ostracize me, then they would hate me, then they would resent me. And because we're afraid of that, we're actually creating ourselves doing that to ourselves. So we actually create the thing that we most fear instantly. This is why shadow work becomes so powerful, because all of the things that we fear, we're unconsciously already creating for ourselves. And when we can actually just start to own those components, the tension around them just dissipates. Make sense?
Yep.
So what's one of the shadows that you've come up with?
Myself.
What do you mean?
That was just you talking to me.
Yeah, you can go.
Yep.
Self-selected yourself, so.
Oh, did I? There you go. Jeez. It's come to me at this present time.
Have you manipulated people in the past?
I don't feel that I have, but maybe I've taken some. Yeah, maybe.
So like his simple one's just manipulation.
Yeah. I wouldn't consider myself a manipulator. I don't think I'd do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, here we go.
You see, there are certain words that I know are going to trigger people.
Yeah.
Manipulation's one.
Yeah.
It's like, I can't be that. And yet we condition every single person in our life to show up in a specific way based on how we respond to them, AKA manipulation.
Yeah.
So every single person manipulates everyone else for them to show up in a specific way based on what they're comfortable having that person show up as.
Yeah.
We have this unspoken agreement with people of how we be with them. I manipulate you to show up in a specific way in a coaching session.
Yeah. I get that.
And until we can actually own that we're actually all manipulators, then it becomes this unconscious process. Because then we're trying to hide that from the world. Now, the natural tendency is to instantly go, okay, no, I just don't manipulate people. I'm not like that. It's all about the intention you put into it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And what we look at in that is, okay, so you always put every other person's needs before yours.
Apparently.
Well, this is the thing. It's like we instantly come from our perspective. So technically every interaction that we have is just manipulating people because we're coming from what our intention is. We don't know whether that's good or bad comparative to what they want.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is the thing, again, manipulation is just one side of a coin, but we see it as the negative side.
And it's just a fact. That's what it is. That's life. Yeah. It's just, same thing. You're a certain person at the gym. You're a certain person at home. I'm a certain person with my son. I'm a certain person. That's still manipulation. And then they're a certain way with me because that makes me happy. Blah, blah, blah. It's a big snowball. Yeah.
Yep. We have this unconscious agreement with every single person in our life of how we show up and how they show up.
Yeah.
And this is what you're going to run into after the weekend. After you go to a transformational event, instantly what happens is you start to show up differently. And you're not showing up how you previously showed up. So you've started to break the agreement that people have had. They're like, oh, he doesn't.
I've already had that already. Yeah.
And here's the thing. This is what you get to do. You get to have the conversation with them and say, hey, I'm committed to being this way with you in the future.
Yeah.
Because the way that I was previously, I was not showing up in our relationship. This is how I'm committed to showing up.
Yeah.
Because otherwise what will happen is you have this transformation, but then other people don't actually see it. So they just keep playing out the same agreements that you previously had. So what you get to do is have that conversation and say, hey, this is how I'm committed to showing up. And I'd love for you to hold me to account for that. It's what we call a network of conversation. So every time they're actually starting to go through work, we get to have this expansion of who we actually are. And we're communicating that to other people, because what will happen is we have this unconscious agreement with people on how they see us. If you've got a coach, network of conversations, is that what I called it?
Yeah.
So your coach will see you in a certain way, mum will see you a certain way. Everyone, you've got all these agreements with all of these people. As you go through transformation, it's like, okay, so my coach sees me in a different way, right? And then it's like, oh, well, then I go and see my mum, and my mum responds in the exact same way, even though I'm a changed person. Then you start to question, did I really have that transformation? Did it really happen? Because my mum's still the same, right? So then we start to question it, and we go back to our old identity.
Yes, I felt like I've done this a few times in my life.
Mm-hmm. And then what we get to do is we get to have those conversations. And then what happens is, instead of going through our drama triangle here of like being wrong and then them just not understanding, we actually step into what we call a circle of possibility. So we need to communicate with people what our new way of being is. So every single time it's like, hey, I've been, because the natural tendency as well is they will try and re-enroll you in the identity that you were.
Yeah.
Because it's a threat to their identity, because they've created and written the story of who you are in the world.
Yeah. Has that got to do with, like, I suppose, leaving or expanding away from your parents too far, and anything like that?
What do you mean by that? I need more context.
You know, as you grow, like your family, your immediate family, whether it's your partner, your dad, mum, and all that sort of stuff, sister, siblings, as you grow and change, they try and bring you back. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what I'm trying to say. People will like sabotage you or bring you down to try and get you back at their level so they don't lose you, kind of thing.
Yeah, okay. So tall poppy syndrome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So what will happen is, they'll start to sabotage you because you've got an agreement of how you showed up in the past, and when you are incongruent with that, then based on their unwillingness to do their work, then they instantly start to create projections of you to actually bring you back down to what their level is.
Yeah.
And when that happens with friends, you have the opportunity to be able to come back to their level, or eventually what happens is they'll self-select themselves out of your life.
Yeah.
So you get to create new agreements. What you're really doing when you have that conversation is creating a new agreement of how you're actually going to be in the world. If someone's just a negative and a victim all the time, it's like, and they're just a friend or something, it's like, hey, this is what I'm committed to in my life. If you are okay at coming to this commitment, then awesome. Let's keep catching up. And if not, then hey, maybe we can just catch up every now and then.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's also honoring what we're actually going to do, and putting in boundaries. It's like, hey, if you're going to do this, then well, I'm going to be focusing on this in my life, and you can meet this standard or not.
Yeah.
Now with family, it's different because you're biologically set up to be connected to them and to have loyalties to them. So in that instance, it's doing that and also shifting your own internal work so they can actually be with them within their triggers of you, and you're stepping up.
Yeah.
Because the natural tendency is just to go to one side of it and just go, I'm going to cut all of the shit people out of my life and then just go off and do my own thing.
Yeah. I've pretty much done that. Done that for a long time.
Yeah. And then what happens is you only get part of the development.
Yeah.
So you raise accepting. You raise through the environment, through the environmental impacts, but you don't raise through the internal shifts at the same rate that you could if you're actually willing to be okay with where those people are at. And still, some of them, especially like family, have them still in your life.
Yeah.
Because like one of my clients is going through this at the moment. She's super successful coach, and she's basically just been running away from like her family for however long. So now she's back in England right now, like going through some of that work, because eventually it just catches up to you anyway.
Yeah.
And the longer that you avoid going through that work, generally the harder it is.
Yeah.
So when it comes to family, it's like you want to accelerate your transformation. Go live with your family again for a week.
Yeah.
That'll just trigger the fuck out of you. And if you can like start to integrate those different parts, it's just like.
I did it a month ago. Went to see my father for a couple of hours, and that was a change. Mm-hmm.
Cool. How do we get onto that?
You asked us what our shadows were, or what's the main one coming up, and then you asked me if I was
manipulation.
Yeah.
Cool. So manipulation, selling out, like all of these things we're consistently doing all the time, and we actually just start to own that we're actually doing these things, everything starts to shift for us. And we go through each of those, like greed is another one. Like all of those, like sloth, deadly sins, whatever they are, 7 deadly sins. It's just like, we all do them. It's just that some of us are willing to actually do the work to actually own that we do them rather than try and hide them. It's like, fuck man, I'm much more lazy than both of you. And I'm okay with that. The difference is I'm okay with that, and I'm okay with being manipulative, and I'm okay with watching my fucked up thoughts, and I'm okay with the deep, dark parts of me. And by being okay with it, it just means that it's just easier. When we can be okay with all the things that we have previously guilted and shamed ourselves for, we can look at it just like on just the emotional scale. It's like if like every single person resents other people. Like how many people have you fantasized about other people, like them dying?
Maybe in the previous maybe a couple of years, but
yeah, but like
I have. Yes, I have. Yes.
Yeah. Instantly you see the negation. Maybe I can't fully own that.
Yeah.
Like
yes, I have.
Yeah. Like I don't know if anyone else has done this. Well, I just might be the only fucked up person, but like you fantasize about like even when what's gonna happen when like your parents die and stuff like that. I'm like,
I'll do that.
Yeah.
What
It's like,
am I
what
gonna get? What are they gonna get? Leave me? They're gonna fucking give it to all my sisters. Like, get it just to spite me.
Yeah. It's like we play
all
all
my
these
dad will leave me
things
fucking
out.
nothing. Fucking asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, you can't talk about that. Can't think about that. That's so wrong. And yet virtually every single person has had that thought about what's going to happen when their parents die. And we instantly go into, all right, well, what's going to happen about all the stuff, all these different things.
Yeah. Even into relationships, you know, you're like looking at the mother, father, this, that, the other, you're like, fucking, yeah, anyway, full extent.
Yep. And this is the thing, like humans are really predictable.
Yeah.
We try and hide all of these parts of us, and yet everyone has virtually the same ones. And it's like, yeah, there's different depths of it as well.
Yeah.
It's like when we're talking about thoughts and things like that, it's like we can go deeper and deeper into all the thoughts of it. And it's just like, cool. If we were to actually just integrate that rather than trying to put on this act like it never actually occurs, well, it just means that we put all of our time, energy, and effort into the act rather than actually owning who we truly are. Make sense?
Yep.
What do you take out of that, Paul?
That was good. A lot. I mean, definitely elements appropriate to my life right now. Yeah.
Where specifically?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to avoid, but specifically every fucking element of that. I mean, every fucking element of that, absolutely. Yeah, I can't fucking do this, so I won't do this. I fucking hate myself so much because like I am really fucking hateful to some people, and I'm angry that I'm hateful, and then I just get more fucking angry. And then it just builds up. And you know, it's like maybe just some insignificant person in my life. And I can't fucking be angry. I can't fucking hate him. But I fucking hate that I fucking hate him. And
yeah. So with activators as well, it's essential for them to experience their anger. So with the adrenaline and testosterone, it just means that like if the anger is suppressed over time, then they have physiological impacts. They're like, it's just a shortcut to depression. So it becomes critical to express your anger, not necessarily at someone. It just needs to be externalized. That's why like exercise is so critical for activators. Can't exercise, and not just like exercise like going for a run or something. It's like exercise where you just like basically getting to the point of ready to collapse. It's like pushing the limits kind of exercise in most instances. So when you have that, it creates the expression of the adrenaline and testosterone, and the anger becomes expressed. That's why like somatic processes become so powerful for activators. So everyone has anger, but activators have the need for it to be expressed the most. Wow. Well, they just have more of it come up to make it more accurate. Make sense? So what really just plays out is just us going through this again. It's like we're putting on the act over here. The act that we've got all our shit together, that we don't have fucked up thoughts, that we don't hate ourselves, that we don't shame ourselves. And the more that we realize that all of those things are actually just human and really just normal, the less time, energy, and effort we have to put into actually hiding them. Because that's how we get tired. If you're acting all day, every day, that's how you get tired. So cool. Any questions with that? Cool. Homework. I want you to inquire into your shadows even more. So what that looks like is asking yourself, what do I resent the most about myself? And just asking yourself at the end of each day, what part of me did I least want to be seen today? In most instances, it's just some form of expression throughout the feelings and emotions. Like it's very frowned upon to have a full spectrum of feelings and emotions in a day. Like, why can't you just be happy? Make sense?
Yep.
Cool. Job done then.
See you. Huh?
I need to double check for next week as well, now that I'm thinking about it, because I might be able to still do it.
I'm available earlier, so depending on your day. Just let us know.
I'll be in Bali, but I'm just thinking with the time difference, I still might be able to do it, because I think it's like a couple hours behind.
Oh yeah.
So I'll just have to double
let
check.
us know. Yeah.
Yeah.
All good.
Cool.
All right. Until next time.
Cheers. See you, bud.
See you later. Thank you.